In 2021, General Motors sold more than 395,000 electric cars in China and 24,828 electric cars in the United States for a total of 420,279 EVs sold over the last 12 months. If I was to tell you that General Motors actually sold nearly 400,000 electric cars in 2021, would you believe me? Well, technically, it is true. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Electric Viking. You know what? Maybe Mary Barra was right. Maybe General Motors does lead the world on electrification of the automobile. Maybe they are forcing everyone else to electrify their cars. Or maybe not. Let's work out what's really going on. First, though, I want to say a big shout out to our Patreon supporters. Thank you for supporting the channel. It means a lot to us. I really appreciate it. And make sure you message me with any questions you have about your investments or just questions you have about the entire automotive industry, electric cars, batteries, etc. Now, welcome to the channel to all you new subscribers. Great to have so many new subscribers on board. You know, I can see why you're subscribing. We make more videos about electric cars than anyone else, and batteries as well. Now, welcome back to everyone else. You know what? 2022, it's going to be a sensational year. General Motors. I mean, who would have thought that they had have sold 395,000 electric cars last year? That doesn't include the electric cars that they sold in the fourth quarter of 2021, which were 26 in America. I made a video about that, by the way, and Elon Musk's hilarious reaction. I'll put a link in the description below to that reaction. If you haven't seen that video, you want to check that one out. Now, am I bullshitting here? Am I telling the truth? Well, it depends on how you look at it. Would you call this video clickbait? No, I wouldn't, because I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm talking about, and it does make some sense. In China, General Motors is part of a tri-venture. They own 33% of a venture with SAIC, which is a state-owned Chinese company. Massive car company. SAIC made 5.5 million cars last year. Wuling, that's a local state-owned company in China. They own the other 33%. And that makes up the three companies, GM, Wuling, and SAIC. Now, these guys got together. SAIC technically builds the cars and Wuling does as well. General Motors is more like a silent partner. But in December of last year, I estimated they sold 50,000 Wuling Hongwan mini EVs. It's like a little mini micro electric car, costs $5,000 in China. And honestly, I've seen a lot of comments from Americans and Canadians and even Australians saying they would love to buy one as a little runabout to use in the cities. Now, technically, it doesn't meet crash regulations in the Western world anywhere, but they can be modified to meet them. They can be. That is true because it has happened. There is precedence for that. It's even happening right now in Europe for this car. People are importing them to Europe and modifying them and then selling them for about double the price, about $10 or $11,000 US dollars in Europe. Now, in December, my guess was they sold 50,000. It was 50,400 of these vehicles were sold. But the reality is that they also make other electric cars as part of that tri-venture. So their sales in December were actually 60,000 EVs in China alone, though. Nowhere else, just in China. So as a total for the year, General Motors, Wuling, and SAIC combined sold nearly 400,000 electric cars in China, which is insane, right? Absolutely crazy. And truthfully, I mean, there's a lot of people right now on forums saying, hey, you're all wrong. General Motors didn't sell 26 electric cars in the fourth quarter. They sold 500,000 plus. No, they didn't sell. Sorry, guys, you're wrong. They didn't sell 500,000 plus. They sold 395,000. But technically, they do own 1/3 of that company. So I'm not sure it's fair to say that they sold 395,000 themselves. And that's what's being claimed by some overzealous General Motors brand fans. So let's just get back to the facts here. They do own 1/3 of that company. And that car isn't technically registrable in the West. But it's still a car. It still drives on the road. It's still legal to drive in China. So therefore, as far as I'm concerned, even though it's technically a quadricycle, that means nothing because the owners are buying them, using them as cars, and technically they're driving them on the roads. So it makes no difference, does it? So technically, yes, General Motors, you are in some way leading the electrification of the automobile. So well done, General Motors, or SAIC, or Wuling. I'm not sure who to say it to, or should I say it to all of you? Realistically, though, I've got to say this electric car, in my view, is one of the most important vehicles made in the history of the world. And I don't say that lightly. In fact, I say that very seriously. I've made videos about this before. I'll put some links in the description below to my other videos about this car. It is, without any question, without any hyperbole whatsoever, a game changer. Now, why is it a game changer? It's a game changer for the same exact reason that the electric scooter trend, and when I say electric scooter, I don't mean the ones you stand on, I mean the ones you sit on that are more like a motorbike. Electric scooter trend is in Taiwan, and that trend is beginning now, is in well, not more than beginning, it's well and truly underway in a number of other countries, including Indonesia, India, and China, and other Southeast Asian countries. Well, guess what? I made a video about, in Taiwan, there is more battery swapping stations, or soon to be more battery swapping stations for a particular brand of electric scooter than there is petrol stations. In other words, it's more likely if you run out of fuel with either your petrol-powered scooter or your battery-powered scooter, you're more likely to be able to find a battery than you are to be able to find petrol or gas. That is what's changing in the third world. People are moving away from petrol-powered, gas-powered devices to what? Well, electric-powered devices. And I've received lots of criticism saying, you're wrong because electrified cars, people can't afford them. You're right. 80% of the world can't afford a car, full stop. But those 80%, many of them, what do they buy? They buy a motorbike, right? Gas-powered. But now that is changing. And that's changing even quicker than electrification of the car is changing, which is amazing news. Now, the same thing happens to be relevant for the Wuling Hongwan Mini EV. Not many people can afford a $50,000 car globally. Yes, in America and Australia and Europe, yeah, lots of people can, but not many people globally can afford that as a percentage of the global population. But can they afford a $5,000 electric car? Can they run it? Well, running it's way cheaper than running an equivalent petrol or gas version, right? Now, the cost of ownership is extremely low. The cost to buy into owning the vehicle is only $5,000. This kind of vehicle can change the lives for hundreds of millions of people worldwide. And that's why this is possibly the most important car in the history of the world, other than something like maybe Henry Ford's Model T, which obviously changed the automotive industry and brought about mass manufacturing. Let's get back to the Wuling Hongwan Mini EV. Maybe we should call it the GM SAIC Wuling Hongwan Mini EV. Well, that's a pretty long name though, isn't it? Now, how many have they sold since its inception? Well, the numbers are truly staggering, and I think these numbers will continue to rise at an insane pace. Now, in 2021, they sold 395,451 of these in China alone. That's an increase of 251% year on year. Cumulatively, more than 500,000 units have been sold in China since June 2020. That's in 19 months. Now, I think if they could increase production of these, they could probably double that figure next year, potentially. That would mean 800,000 EVs coming from General Motors. So, technically, General Motors could actually catch up to Tesla by 2025 if you're to include these cars. But if you just say they only own 33%, which is true, then how many cars are they actually selling? Well, that's debatable. That's really a tough one. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now, what are the specs of this car? Well, the Hongwan Mini EV technically comes in two models now, but there's a third model that they've just begun selling. Now, the first two models, there's two battery range options. The lowest, cheapest car has 120 kilometers of range, 75 miles, using a 9.3 kilowatt hour battery. Now, I'm very skeptical they can get that kind of range from a 9.3 kilowatt hour battery. Probably more like 50 miles. The next model up has 170 kilometers of range, or 106 miles, using a 13.9 kilowatt hour battery. Also probably not going to get that kind of range, but you might get 2/3 of that. Top speed is 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles per hour. Has an electric motor with 20 kilowatts and 85 newton meters of torque. Comes with 4 seats and has 741 liters of total space with the rear seats folded down. Now, I'm going to assume that's entire interior space. I don't think you're going to find in this little car the boot's going to have that kind of space. Now, how long is it? Well, these K cars, which is technically what they're called, a K car, they're very popular in Japan, these kinds of little mini cars, and China now, massive resurgence. They're usually around about 2.95 meters long. This one is 2,917 millimeters long, 1,493 millimeters wide, and 1,621 millimeters high, with a 1,940 millimeter wheelbase. That's one of the good things about all these electric cars. Very long wheelbase means more interior space. When I say very long, I mean contextually very long, of course. Now, an upgraded version of this vehicle will be launching soon if it hasn't already. It might have already in China. It will have over 300 kilometers of range, 186 miles, and it will qualify for further subsidies that come with cars that come with 300 plus kilometers of range. So the funny thing is, right, even though this car technically will cost about $7,500 for this better model, it will actually cost around about the same amount as the middle range model because the subsidy will kick in, bringing the price back down to the price of the mid-spec model, about $5,500 US. So in other words, you'll be able to buy an EV in China with 300 kilometers of range for $5,500 US. That is staggering. Now, what size is the battery? Well, the battery in this model has 26 kilowatt hours of capacity instead of the 9.3 and the 13.9 in the other two. So you can see it's nearly twice the size of the mid-spec battery size. It will come with a 30 kilowatt motor instead of the 20 kilowatt motor in the other two. And will have 4 seats. And importantly, it's actually a bit bigger. It has a wheelbase of 2 meters, 2,010 millimeters versus the 1,940 millimeters of the other model. And it has a length of 2,997 millimeters. So it's nearly 10 centimeters longer than the other model. So General Motors for the win. 400,000 units built and sold. That, my friends, is mass production. But yeah, I know what you're thinking. Let me know though in the comment section below. What do you make of all this? Are GM responsible for this incredible result? Should I be criticizing them less and giving them more credit? Maybe I should be. Thanks for watching the channel, and I'll see you again on the next one. Bye-bye.